So today I'm doing another tag video. This is the mid-year book tag or mid-year freakout book tag. I've seen both titles used, but they're the same questions. And I'm not going to tag anybody in the end because I've already seen this go around a lot, as well as there's probably people who already have it filmed or who have it planned to be filmed. There's 15 questions and I'm like trying not to repeat myself, but I haven't read as many books as I wish I had so far this year. Hopefully these upcoming months I can rectify that a bit. I'll leave the questions in the description if you have not done this tag and would like to do it. And here we go. The first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2018? And I'd have to say the best book I've read so far is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I started this and immediately within the first 40 pages, I figured it would probably be a new favorite unless for some reason it went just completely downhill, but it didn't. And not only do I think that this is the best book I've read so far this year, but I also think it's like the best written book I've read. It's probably, I'm like looking around here, it's probably the most like literary book I've read so far this year. Not to say that a contemporary YA can't be literary also, but this one is definitely in the literary fiction category and is the most literarily written. I'm not going to go on too much about this because I am going to mention it at least one more time in this video, as well as it's definitely going to be in my June favorites video, which I'm probably going to film right after I finish filming this. The second question is, what is the best sequel so far that you've read this year? And mine is City of Glass, which is the third book in the Mortal Instrument series, and the third book in the Shadowhunter books overall. It's by Cassandra Clare. I'm pretty sure I didn't have to say that. I haven't read that many sequels, just this one and the book previous to this, City of Ashes, and this is my preference of the two. I found this one just had a lot more action and just overall more interesting sequences. I'm not really going to talk about it that much because it's the third book in a series. And I know this series is not the best series, but it's fun and enjoyable, and people can hate it if they want. I enjoy it though. I like it. The third question is, what is a new release you haven't read yet but want to? And I don't have this, but everyone is talking about The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it just seems exactly like what I would like. I'm hoping that it would live up to my expectation, especially with what everyone is saying about it and all the rave reviews I've seen. I have a feeling it would be a new favorite, but I don't have it, and I haven't read it yet. Number 4 is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and mine would be The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. I consider her my favorite author, even though I've only read 3 of the 5 books that she's currently published, which means once The Clockmaker's Daughter comes out, I'll only have read half her books, which seems really weird, especially because she's my favorite author. I have here her other 5 books. This is actually about to fall like any second, but these are her other books. She writes historical fiction, and I basically am going to go into The Clockmaker's Daughter almost blind. I haven't read anything about what it's about. I just know that it's Kate Morton, and she's like an auto-buy author for me, so I'm going to read it. I have really high expectations for Kate Morton's novels, and even though with her third novel I was a little bit disappointed just because I was so blown away by the other 2, I always have high expectations for her books, and I'm usually not disappointed, and hopefully I'm not with the other basically 3 novels of hers that I have to read. Number 5 is my biggest disappointment, and that would be Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Infernal Devices trilogy, the 4th book, if you're going in publication order, of the Shadowhunter books overall. Basically, I mean, this would have to be the only book, maybe, that is a disappointment overall. I enjoy reading the Mortal Instruments series, and I had heard a lot of people say that they prefer the Infernal Devices trilogy over the Mortal Instruments series, so I was kind of expecting that as well, and it's more historical. It takes place in the Victorian era, which I really like, and so I just had higher expectations for it, and I was disappointed. I didn't like the characters as much, I didn't like the plot as much, I didn't like the bad guy as much. So of all the books I've read this year, this is definitely my biggest disappointment. Although, if we're going with books that I've finished this year, but I started last year, it would definitely have to go to The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. Because I really didn't like this book, and I've made that clear in at least one other previous video. But I started this last year, and then it took me months to pick it back up again. I finally finished it this year, and I still didn't really like it. So this would also be a big disappointment. Number 6 is What is the Biggest Surprise? And mine is The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth. I was surprised in the way that this is written. It takes place over the course of multiple years, and I wasn't expecting that. This is about, oh my god, I have not told you about any of these books. Whatever, we're just gonna go with it. But this is about a girl who is discovering her sexuality, and she is gay, and her aunt finds out and sends her to a conversion camp. And I thought that that would be the overall story, is her going to this conversion camp and what happens with that. But it starts years before that, from when her parents first die, and which is part of the plot. Watch her grow and try to understand who she is and what her sexuality is and how she feels about that and what she wants to do with her life. So the overall course of the plot of the story caught me a little off guard, but also it's so much more heartfelt than I think people might think firsthand. Sometimes I think that YA novels can just be seen as teen books that don't have as much meaning as adult books, basically. I don't know why. I feel like that's something that so many other people can say they've observed from people who are readers and people who are not readers. So I'd have to say that this is my biggest surprise so far this year. Number 7 is a favorite new author, debut or new to you, and I don't have anyone to say. So we're just moving on to number 8, which is my newest fictional crush. Okay. Yeah, number 8 is newest fictional crush, which is a ridiculous question, but I actually do have an answer for it. So despite this book being my biggest disappointment, I love Jem. Like, I love Jem. I don't understand why people like Will more than Jem. And I thought I would like Will more than Jem just because of the way people talk about Will Herondale being like the greatest character, and I went, no, Jem. Basically, I'm into anybody who really loves music though and tells the truth, so those were 2 qualities of his that I liked, as well as he looks pretty cool because it's because he has to take these like drugs that he is pale and doesn't have color in his hair or doesn't have color in his eyes either. But still, that's a cool look. Yeah, okay. Number 9 is newest favorite character, and so Jem would probably have to be an answer, but I've already talked about him a little bit. But another one would be Henry from The Secret History. I just overall find this book really interesting. Like, I was trying to figure out how I was going to write about it in my Goodreads review, which my Goodreads reviews aren't really like reviews. It's kind of just, I guess your thoughts on a book is a review. But I wasn't critiquing it so much. I just kept saying that it was interesting. The plot is interesting and the characters are interesting. And I find Henry the most interesting character because I kept on thinking that I knew him, and then something happened and I had to alter my idea of him. I couldn't tell if he was like being meticulous the entire time or if he was still just trying to figure things out like the rest of the characters. So although I don't know if he's like a favorite character, I don't know. Sometimes I trick myself when I think something is really interesting into I trick myself into thinking that thing, whether it's a book or a character, into it being a favorite. Is that my wording's a little off there probably, but sometimes if I just think something's really interesting, it makes me think that it's actually a favorite or it's something that I really like. But like, this book is really hard for me to say what it is that I like about it. I just do. Like, I just found it really interesting. See, I don't know what else to say. But I guess that Henry would be another new favorite character. Number 10 is a book that made you cry, or the saddest book you've read so far. And I did not cry in any book, but probably because it's like the most, I already used the word heartfelt, but it is probably the most heartfelt book that I've read so far this year. The Miseducation of Cameron Post could be a contender here, but I didn't cry during it. But it's probably, like, the fact that, like, conversion camps even exist in the first place, that's just so terrible. Number 11 is a book that made me happy, and here I go again, grabbing The Secret History, because I was so happy when I finished this, because I hated The Little Friend, and I think I might exaggerate that a bit. Like, I did enjoy the last, like, 200 pages of The Little Friend, but I finished this, and I was like, I finished this within a month, where I was reading The Little Friend for months, and didn't enjoy it. And here, I finished this within 1 month, and really, really enjoyed it. And I don't know, I felt so accomplished, like, when I finished this. I guess that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. It made me, like, so happy when I finished this. So this would be the book that made me the happiest. Number 12 is a favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year, and I'm pretty sure so many other people are answering this. It's Love, Simon. And Love, Simon is an adaptation of Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I almost thought about rereading this too before seeing the movie, but I didn't. But that's alright. I think my brain would have just been like picking out as many differences that I could see, and I'm glad that I didn't do that as much. Although I don't like how they make Leah like have a crush on Simon. I think everyone has kind of a consensus on this and doesn't like that either. But it'd be so interesting to see like a Leah on the Offbeat adaptation, even though I don't have that book and I haven't read it yet. Like, that would be cool, especially because we could see some of the same characters, I'm assuming. I mean, obviously Leah, but I'm assuming other characters from this book would be in it too. Number 13 is a favorite review you've written this year, or a video you've done so far this year, and I don't really know. I don't really, like, write reviews for other people. Like, I mean, I do, but, like, other people can read my reviews, but I just, like, on Goodreads, but I just write the way that I would be speaking, which may be hard to pick up if you're not familiar with the way that I explain things. As well as I basically just go through the book and say whatever it is I'm thinking when I'm skimming over those words again. They're very scattered and I don't know. And with videos, I don't really know if I have a favorite. I mean, I guess sort of the first video that I did back in February, which is just like a whatever I was up to. I don't even remember the title. All I know is that it was really long and I just kept talking about EXO and Shadowhunters and classic films. But that first video that I did back in February, which I'll link somewhere in that corner, this corner. Maybe that's my favorite, but also maybe I'm just saying that because that's the first video that I filmed in like at least a year and a half, and I've just decided to talk about whatever. So I guess if I had to choose a video, it would be that. For Goodreads reviews, I don't really know. Number 14 is the most beautiful book you've received or bought this year. For this I have a few because here in my hand I have Obsidio, and this isn't necessarily a beautiful book, but the series is published so well. These like half see-through dust jackets, it's probably making a lot of noise right now. But like this, and then the book itself has like a design on it too, instead of it just being like a regular book with a design on the dust jacket. So for actually like books that I would say are beautiful, I have The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. I love the colors on this, and it's so simple. I really like covers where the title is basically the cover and there's maybe a couple of graphics here and there, and so this one just has the title, the bird, the crane, sort of crane looking bird, and then the gradient in the background. I also have here Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, and this one, it just has like really pretty colors on it. It's again like beautiful but like simple. I also like that the boy has tattoos, because I'm into tattoos. But also, you usually don't see characters with tattoos unless it maybe has to do with like some sort of ability, or like shows like the Shadowhunters, basically. You know, they have the runes on their body, but it's not really like a tattoo, even though to mundanes it may look like a tattoo. And then the last question, number 15, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And basically, the only specific goal that I have in terms of specific books this year that I have to read, or that I'm like making sure that I read this year, are the Shadowhunter books by Cassandra Clare, and then also some of the books that are included in the Shadowhunter Chronicles overall but are more like companion books, are the like short story bind-ups. I'm also reading those, although those are written by Cassandra Clare and at least a couple authors for each of those books, which are the Bane Chronicles and Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. But basically all the Shadowhunter books, like all of them. So all the way up to Lord of Shadows, which I have here, and then the last book in like this trilogy, the Dark Artifices trilogy, called Queen of Air and Darkness. That one comes out like really late December, I'm pretty sure, like December 27th or 28th. So that's not specifically on the list of like the books that I have to read. It would be cool to like read it within the last few days of the year, but I'm not making it necessary. So that was the tag, and like I said before, I'm not going to tag anybody because so many people have already done this. I'm pretty sure it's sort of become routine now with a lot of booktubers. It's been going around for at least a few years now, and I don't know who the original creator is, so I might have to look into that. I'm sorry if I can't find out who it is. But if I do find it, I'll link it in the description. So in the comments, tell me what the best book you read so far this year is and what your biggest disappointment is. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.